Hello, it's Scott Manley here with a little bit of a status update. So you might have noticed no videos for the last couple of days, and there's two reasons for this. The first is that apparently I have some malware that I'm going to have to clean off of my gaming machine before I do anything more. But the other is I'm actually on a trip to a southern part of California. Specifically, I'm in Pismo Beach right now, which is about an hour's north, well, 45 minutes north of Vandenberg Air Force Base. So Vandenberg, I got an invite to a NASA social event. This is basically where they ask for people that are popular or interested or talking about NASA on social media to come and hang out with the NASA people. And well, at Vandenberg, it's relatively near my house. I was able to drive there in like 4 hours, so I thought this will be great. And I'll get to see a rocket launch, because this was a social event for the launch of SMAP, which is Soil Moisture Active Passive. It is a satellite which will observe the Earth and track the amount of moisture in the top few inches of soil, which is really quite amazing, considering that the old way of doing this was to take a chunk of soil, weigh it, and then heat it until all the moisture was removed and then weigh it again. This will be able to do that worldwide and therefore provide all sorts of fascinating information for agriculture, defense, emergency relief planning, all that stuff. It's great, and yeah, very interested in the mission itself, but really I'm just like, it's a rocket launch, and I've never really been this close to a rocket launch ever before. So that's why I'm here. We actually got a whole NASA social driven tour of the Vandenberg yesterday. We got to see the Western Range Operations Control Center, essentially mission control for the West Coast. We got to see some old hardware from the Thor and Titan and everything days. We got to talk to a great guy called Jay, who I'm gonna see if I can bring him on the channel, because he's just like awesome and he knows the best stories about everything. Now, some of you might be interested to know that the reason why there's two launch sites, Vandenberg is on the west coast, Cape Canaveral or Cape Kennedy is on the east coast. Now, on the east coast, because of the shape of the coastline, they can really only launch towards the east, which is fine for putting things in inclined equatorial orbits. If they try to put something into a polar orbit, then they either have to fly over North America or they fly over the Caribbean in a lot of shipping. And that would mean that when they dump the boosters, they would potentially dump it onto somebody that wouldn't appreciate it. So on the west coast, Vandenberg, it can actually launch directly south and therefore put things into polar orbits. Now, what kind of things do you put into polar orbits? Well, of course, spy satellites, Earth observation satellites, all that. They all go out of the west coast. And as a consequence, Vandenberg apparently has much higher security than Kennedy Space Center on the east coast. Yeah, it's a working Air Force base and everything going on. The X-37 lands here as well. There's a whole history of Vandenberg, and I'm hopefully going to put together a video of what I can show you. I couldn't take cameras everywhere because it was a secure installation. For example, I couldn't show you the inside of the ROC, the Western Range Operation Control Center, as I had said. So yeah, the polar orbits come out of Vandenberg, and that means a lot of spy satellites. I managed to acquire a mission patch from one of the National Reconnaissance Orbit missions. It is the Eye of Sauron in a mission patch. They have a certain sense of humor, let's say. They also do testing of missile interceptors and intercontinental ballistic missiles from this range as well. So this morning we all got up at 4 a.m. at the ass crack of dawn to see if we could watch this spacecraft launch on the Delta II. Unfortunately, the weather did not cooperate. At ground level, everything was great. Visibility was awesome. But at about 30,000 feet, there was some weird thing going on with the atmosphere, and you had a lot of turbulent air, and the wind velocities jumped up to about 70 knots. So they decided to scrub the launch. They had a 3-minute launch window because the spacecraft is supposed to run along the day-night terminator to get the best data. So they're going to try again tomorrow, and hopefully, fingers crossed, I will have some awesome video of a rocket launch. Until then, I'll see you around. I'm Scott Manley. Fly safe.